Welcome into the next segment of our series iOS and Firebase. Today we're going to be learning about uploading data. So when a user creates a profile or they're editing their profile or creating posts or something, we're going to be able to take that data that they create and then upload it to our little database on Firebase. In the next video after this, we'll be learning about retrieving that data. So this is going to be a two-part series, you could call it, in our actual iOS and Firebase series. We are going to break down the different steps you can take and different functions that you can use to get done what you need to get done. So let's jump right on in. So if we open up our file again, we can head on over to our sign up. Here when we create our user, all we are doing is actually creating the user and sending them over to our authentication in Firebase. That is great, but this doesn't actually store any of the other information that we create, such as a name, or if you have a age field, or you have some sort of other type of field created inside your sign up form or your edit profile or something like that. It will not go anywhere except here, since that's all we've done is create our user through authentication. And that's great and all, and that's what we want to see is our user being created, but we are not actually storing any of their information or their data to our database, which allows them to actually retrieve their age, their name, or even update it if they wanted to. So what we need to do is we need to head on over to our Firebase console. And what we can do is we can go over to develop, and then right under authentication, we have our database. So our database, we are going to be uploading various information in this app. Since we're creating a social network, we most likely will be creating posts or sharing information with other users, as well as creating users. So just on top of that, we have a whole bunch that we need to get done. And in Firebase, there are actually two different databases you can use. They just recently launched Firestore. That is one way of sort of storing your information in a cleaner way than the real-time database. Firestore, we are not going to be jumping into that yet. That'll probably be down the road in this series. What we'll be doing is the real-time database. So if we scroll down and then we find real-time database, we will be able to create our database for our actual app. So what we do is we just create database. And right now we want to set everything in test mode. So this is, if you're launching your application, never have all your rules set as true. This can get funky and definitely will mess up your app, and it's not something you do in production. You want to set up different parameters, such as checking if a user is logged in or not, and if that user that is grabbing the information, if it's their information or someone else's. So for this video, we'll just be setting everything to true for demo purposes. So we'll just enable, and our real-time database is set up. So we have our database set up, but everything is null. Why? Because we haven't actually thrown any data into it or stored any data, you could say. So what we'll be doing next is we are going to be setting up our database in our app when the user signs up. So what we are going to do is we are actually going to take advantage of our service class over here. And we are going to take this code right here and create a function that allows us to create a user as well as create information in our database or post information to our database. So if we head on over to our service, we can create a static function that we can call sign up user, and boom. So now we have a function that allows us to sign up a user. Next, what we'll do is we'll take this code right here. We'll just take all of it and just Control X or Command X. And next what we'll do is we'll head on over to our service class and import our Firebase. Boom. Then inside our sign up user function, we're going to Command V all that information. And this allows us to sign up that user. Now the problem here is we need to create a couple parameters that allows us to pass the data from our sign up view controller into our service and then sign up the user. So that's what we'll create here. We'll have our email, which will be a string, a password, which will also be a string. And then to allow us to break out of this function and see if there's any errors or not, since this is just a static function, we will not be able to present any errors, hence this right here. We will be creating a couple completion blocks. So one is we'll create a couple completion blocks. These completion blocks allow us to check if a function is completed or if something happened, and then we can just pass data back to where the function was called. One completion block will be on success. You can create one where you could just call it completion and then check if the completion has an error or not, but we'll just make this simpler. So escaping and void. So if the process is successful, we will simply just throw out on success, allowing us to see that the function successfully went through and our user was signed up and the data was stored in the database. Then we'll create a function on error at escaping, and in here we'll go underscore and then error, and then we are done. So now the on success will be called whenever the function is complete, such as right here. And then the on error will be called whenever there is an error in our create user or our uploaded database, such as right here. So we can simply update some of these fields right here, this email, password. And then what we also will do is we will throw our on error right inside here, and then we'll just pass that error. We can unwrap it, make it, and then just comment that out for now. We will take this and throw it back into our sign up view controller. Along with this, we can actually just take and Command X and then just toss it right in here for now. Perfect. So next what we need to do is we need to take the data that the user provides and upload it to our database. This is simple and pretty easy. We'll create another static function that we'll call upload to database. Perfect. And inside here, we will grab our string and a name. And then we will also throw a couple completion blocks. Perfect. Inside our upload to database, we'll create a reference. So this allows us to call the actual database, such as when we use the LzCtrl and create an object, we're just calling the database here. So when we're calling our database, we are simply calling this the master of everything. What we want to call is we want to create a user object, and then inside that user object, we want to create multiple users with different unique identifiers. So once our user is created inside our auth.createUser, we will call our upload to database. So when our user is created, this auth object actually creates a unique identifier inside of it. And then from there, we are able to divide users based on their own identifiers. This is perfect. So what we'll do here is we'll create a let auth, or let UID equals auth.auth.currentUser.UID. And then we'll call our reference object. And then from there, we are actually going to call a child object, which will be, say we have our social network right here. We'll have an object below it called users. And then that will be the child to the master of social network -CCBBA. And we can just call users. And then from there, we want to, inside our users, we want to create all the data for this specific user. We do not want to update all the information for all the other users. We just want to update it for this specific user. What we'll do is we'll create another child and we'll call it UID. Perfect. And then just make sure you unwrap that. So what we'll do from here is we are actually just going to set the values for this user. We don't need to upload or update any values since there's nothing for this user inside the database. We'll simply just set the values. So if you type in set value, and then right here, this is where our dictionary of information will go, such as the email and the name. Perfect. So what we'll do is we'll take our brackets, and then this creates our dictionary. And then inside here, we'll call our first one email, and then colon, and then we will grab that email object. Perfect. And then our next object is our name. So we'll take that, colon, and name. Perfect. So this sets the value for the current user. This creates the user's name and email inside their unique identifier, which is inside the users, which is inside our main social network database. Perfect. And we can actually get rid of this on error since we are not calling any on completion values for our set value or upload. And then after this, once we set the value, we can actually just call on success. Perfect. And then if we head on over to our sign up user, we'll upload database. Perfect. And inside here, we'll throw our email, and we should probably also pass the name of the user since that's what we will be doing here, name. And then on success, we can just throw on success. Perfect. We'll just pass this on success to this one, which will pass on to here. And then right here, we can Command X this and take our alert, and we will be passing that back to our sign up view controller. Perfect. So everything looks nice and clean. Everything should be working fine if you have everything set up in your real-time database. The rules are set up as true for both rules, read and write. And let's actually get this tested out. So we'll call our signup user function in our signup view controller. We'll go service.signup_user, and we will pass that email.text field, our password.text field, and our name field.text. Perfect. And then if you just double click our on success and double click our on error, and then we can just Command V our code that we copied for that alert, pass it in, and then we can also grab our seg that we are performing and pass it into the on success. Perfect. So if our user is created and everything goes smoothly, we will pass them to the self.perform seg. Otherwise, if something happens or it messes up, then we will simply just throw them an error with the message. Let's run this code. All right, so now what we'll do is we are going to sign up that brand new user. If you look in our authentication, we have one user, the user at gmail.com. We'll create another one called Johnny. His name will be Johnny. And we can go user2 at gmail.com. And the password, we can go the same as 123456. And we should be able to sign up. Perfect. And then if we go into our database, our user is created inside our master, which is inside the users. And then in their unique identifier, if you click open, we have all the information successfully updated and uploaded to our database, our real-time database. So this will probably conclude the first video of our 2 to 3 part series of uploading to our real-time database as well as retrieving. In the next video, we are going to look at retrieving this data when a user logs in so that we are able to grab this information, throw it to them, and allow them to see their profile or see posts that are created in this social network app. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.